We have some breaking news for you on our politics lead now. Brand new recordings being revealed for the very first time of Republican House Leader Kevin McCarthy denouncing then President Trump in some of the harshest language we have heard from McCarthy yet. The audio comes from just 2 days after the January 6th Capitol insurrection during a House Republican leadership call in which McCarthy called the president's actions, quote, atrocious and totally wrong, unquote, and expressed his desire to ensure a smooth transition to the Biden administration. The audio was obtained by New York Times national political correspondents Jonathan Martin and Alex Burns. Take a listen.
Yeah. Look, what the president did is atrocious and totally wrong. From the standpoint, we're 12 days away. I mean, the one point I'd make with Biden, if you have an impeachment and you're stuck sitting in the Senate and he needs cabinet members, you've got Secretary of Defense, you've got a lot of things that you've got to have moving. And if you think from a perspective, you put everything else away, this country is very, very divided. I do think the impeachment divides the nation further and continues to divide even greater. That's why I want to reach out to Biden. I wanted the president to meet with Biden. If that's not going to happen, I want to see about us meeting with Biden, sitting down, make a smooth transition, show that, and continue to keep those statements going. So hopefully, I know he's got to talk to Pelosi, but hopefully he calls me today and see if we can start that process.
Hopefully he calls me today and we can see if we can start that process. Jonathan Martin and Alex Burns joins us now. They're the authors, as if I need to say this again, authors of the brand new book, This Will Not Pass, Trump, Biden, and the Battle for America's Future, which was just published yesterday. Jonathan, take us through what's happening in this meeting and the context around McCarthy's comments.
So in this moment, McCarthy is trying desperately to connect with the incoming president, Joe Biden. McCarthy is sort of panicked about the prospect of more political violence in the country, and he's grappling with what to do about President Trump and how to hold him accountable and minimize the political risk that he thinks President Trump now presents to him and his party. And we chronicle in this book from this moment really forward how Kevin McCarthy got from that hard line that you just heard, atrocious and totally wrong, he calls Donald Trump, to by the end of the month, Jake, being back at Mar-a-Lago with the former president.
Yeah, and Alex, you have another recording where an aide on the call details how the 25th Amendment to the Constitution works. For those who somehow have made it to this moment without learning this, that's the amendment for 2/3 of the cabinet to remove a president perceived as being incapacitated. It's been brought up throughout the Trump presidency. We hear McCarthy discuss this and dismiss it as a possibility, but it's interesting as to why he dismisses it. Let's take a listen.
I think the options that have been cited by the Democrats so far are the 25th Amendment, which is not exactly an elegant solution here.
That takes too long, too. It could go back to the House, right?
That takes too long. The audio shows the 25th Amendment was under serious consideration, Alex.
That's right. You know, this is something that we've reported from a couple top Republicans in the book, that the 25th Amendment was sincerely and seriously in play at this point. And a whole lot of Republicans like to sort of hand wave that, you know, well, people like to speculate about the 25th. Jake, this was a whole lot more than speculation, as your viewers just heard. And you don't hear Kevin McCarthy saying in that moment, you know, I don't think it would be appropriate to invoke the 25th Amendment, or I'm not sure that it was designed for a situation like this. His concern is it would take too long. And the reason why he's worried it could take too long is that the cabinet can vote to remove the president, but then the president can challenge that, and then it goes to a vote of the Congress. And then you're in a situation that's really not all that different from impeachment. And again, to bring folks back to this extremely urgent moment, 2 days after January 6th, 12 days left on the clock of President Trump's administration, you have the top Republicans in the country truly worried about whether it's responsible to let Donald Trump remain as the president and commander-in-chief for just 12 more days.
Yeah, no, and Jonathan, I mean, it's incredible when you think about Kevin McCarthy's issue with the 25th Amendment is it wouldn't get rid of Trump quickly enough. And so you also write about Trump's response to McCarthy's condemnations of him in the immediate aftermath of the insurrection. Quote, Trump waved aside McCarthy's claims of challenging the former president in private. According to Trump, the Republican leader's tough talk after January 6th was just that, talk. So Trump is completely unconcerned about what McCarthy was saying during this time.
And not just that, when we pressed President Trump in our interview with him for this book about what Kevin McCarthy had said to him, Trump said, McCarthy never pressed me to think about resigning or to even issue any kind of contrition. And so we asked Trump, we said, so why is McCarthy claiming that he was a tough guy with you? And Trump said to us 2 words, inferiority complex.
Wow.
Speaking about Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah, and Alex, we should note President Trump certainly had a good night last night with the Republican Senate primary results in Ohio. His handpicked candidate, J.D. Vance, who was trailing in the polls before Trump picked him, won. In the book, he described how a lot of Republicans have been dismayed at Trump's continued strength within the party, including Mitch McConnell.
That's right. Mitch McConnell, in so many ways, exhibit A of Republicans who wish Trump would just fade away and finds now that's not the case at all. If Republicans take back the Senate majority this year, Jake, there's a very, very strong chance that the margin of control for Mitch McConnell will be candidates handpicked by Donald Trump. And as Kevin McCarthy has found in recent weeks after the reporting from this book became public, the long arm of Donald Trump is very long indeed. And, you know, those endorsements, that support, that indulgence from the former president does not come for free.